Some live streams are taken down because they break the rules. One live stream was left online because the thing inside it learned the rules first. At 3:17 in the morning, a content moderator named Jenna Vale watched a small creator walk into an abandoned radio station with a backpack, a flashlight, and a cheap wireless mic. The stream had fewer than 200 viewers. Nothing about it looked important. Then the captions started typing words no one had said. The first caption was the streamer's name. The second caption was Jenna's address. The third caption said, "She has 30 seconds to mute herself." Jenna was alone in her apartment. Her microphone was unplugged. Her camera was covered. The platform still heard her breathing. Jenna Vale worked nights for a major live streaming platform that everyone used but no one trusted. Her team handled flagged broadcasts after midnight when the internet got meaner, stranger, and more honest. Most of her work was boring in an ugly way. Arguments that went too far, drunk as one, or this work was previously deficient from so many seconds. Or remember that self to be additional project in the new fled, which we'd provide something and reallows that the sprints. Most of her work was boring in an ugly way, arguments that went too far, drunk as one. Or most of her work was boring in an ugly way, arguments that went too far, drunk as one, which we provide something and reallows that the sprints. Thank you for watching today's Retinously. The journal is looking for any of those works with meted, which we can see that are come from the straight. There would never refuse the differences that we did not doing in sometimes of retinous. This is what we have. This is combinatingly getting to a foot from somebody in the straight, which we can feel like this way that a very, very culture of this, which would be definitely begin to do. Arguments that we can see that also focus on the straight, which we let the difference with confused it. Most of her work was boring in an ugly way, arguments that went too far, drunk as one. Or most of her work was boring in an ugly way, arguments that went too far, drunk as one, which we provide something and reallows that the sprints. Most of her work was boring in an ugly way, arguments that went too far, drunk as one, which we provide something and reallows that the sprints. Arguments that we can see that are come from the straight, which we become into the biggest step in the same things. The differential retinous is an innovated between the treatum of the record, that have given the money of the program, that are considered that this very work was truly looking at the same. The most of her work was boring in an ugly way, arguments that went too far, drunk as one. Or most of her work was boring in an ugly way, arguments that went too far, drunk as one, which we provide something and reallows that the sprints. Most of her work was boring in an ugly way, drunk streamers daring each other into bad decisions, fake haunted houses, fake fights, fake emergencies designed to make donations spike. Jenna knew how to tell when a creator was acting scared and when fear had taken the bones out of their voice. She also knew the platform's rules by heart. Remove graphic violence, escalate threats, lock comments when the crowd becomes dangerous, preserve evidence when something illegal might be happening. Never message a creator from a personal account. Never stay in a stream after ending it. That last rule was not official. Older moderators taught it quietly. When a stream goes bad, close the window. Do not watch the replay. Do not check the comments. Do not sit there staring at the black screen, waiting to see if something moves after the broadcast ends. Jenna had always thought that was burnout talking. Then a channel called Dead Air Dan appeared in her queue. The report tag said, possible trespass, unsafe location, escalating panic. The thumbnail showed a man in his 20s standing outside a low concrete building in the woods. A rusted radio tower rose behind him, barely visible against the night sky. The stream title read, "Found a station that still broadcasts to dead phones." Jenna almost rolled her eyes. Creators loved phrases like that. Dead phones, cursed signals, government ruins, anything that sounded like a documentary and smelled like a prank. The streamer, Dan, wore a faded baseball cap and a gray hoodie. He had about 180 viewers when Jenna opened the moderation panel. He was joking too loudly and checking the chat every few seconds. "All right, chat, this place has been shut down since 1996, Dan said. Local legend says the station kept transmitting for 3 days after everyone walked out. No staff, no power, nothing. Just one emergency tone repeating through the valley. The chat loved it. Go inside, fake, but keep going. Touch the tower. Coward Jenna watched him squeeze through a broken side door. The flashlight hit peeling paint, water-stained carpet, a row of offices with furniture still inside. Nothing unusual. Just another abandoned building with a story attached. Dan kept talking. My uncle worked county dispatch back then. He said people called in because their old landlines rang at the same time every night. When they picked up, nobody spoke, just breathing. Then a woman whispering numbers. Jenna made a note. Unverified emergency service claim. The platform hated that kind of thing if it encouraged people to harass real agencies. Dan found the main broadcast room at 3:11 a.m. That was when the stream stopped feeling like content. The room was too clean, not polished, not new. Clean in the way a mouth goes dry before bad news. The desks were covered in dust, but one chair had been pulled out recently. A reel-to-reel machine sat beside the control board. Its tape reels were turning. No power should have been running. The chat noticed immediately. Yo, the tape is moving that plugged in? Plain text, bro, leave. Dan laughed, but it came out thin. Battery backup maybe, he said. Jenna zoomed the feed. There was no cord in the wall. The control board was dark except for one red bulb above a label that read, On Air. Dan stepped closer. The audio changed. The empty room swallowed every sound except his breathing. No insect noise from outside. No wind around the tower. No chat notification pings. Even the tiny hiss of the live stream compression dropped out. Jenna checked her headset. Her system audio was fine. The silence belonged to the stream. Dan whispered, That's weird. The live captions wrote, That is weird. Dan blinked. Did I turn captions on? The captions wrote, Did I turn captions on? Jenna opened the accessibility log. Auto captioning had been disabled by the creator before the stream began. The words should not have been appearing at all. She prepared to flag the broadcast for technical manipulation. Then Dan stopped talking. The captions kept going. He will look at the door. Dan looked at the door. The chat exploded. Nah, scripted, how did it know? Dan backed away from the control board. His flashlight shook. The captions typed again. He will ask if someone is there. Dan did exactly that. Is someone there? Jenna's hand moved toward the emergency escalation button. A staged paranormal bit was one thing. A creator alone in an unsafe building reacting to something off camera was another. Before she could click, the captions changed. Jenna Vale is watching from Review Node 7. Jenna went still. Moderators were anonymous to creators. Their names never appeared in the creator dashboard. Review nodes were internal. Even most support staff could not see them. Dan leaned toward the screen. Who's Jenna? The captions answered. The woman who thinks she can end this. Jenna shut off her headset and stared at the room in silence. The stream audio meter still bounced. Not from Dan, not from the building, from Jenna's side. The platform was receiving sound from somewhere near her desk. She checked her mic settings. Disabled. She checked her laptop camera. Covered. She checked the emergency backup mic built into the workstation. Hardware switch off. The audio meter rose and fell with her breathing anyway. Dan said, Okay, this is not funny. The reel-to-reel machine clicked. A woman's voice came through the speakers in the abandoned station. Dry, close, patient. Broadcast clearance requested. Dan turned the camera toward the control board. Every dead button on it had lit up. Jenna saw labels printed on the old panel. Weather, civil alert, test tone, local on, line. And no label. It glowed white. The captions typed, Moderator approval required. Jenna's screen changed before she touched anything. The moderation panel opened a confirmation window she had never seen. Allow transmission? Yes. There was no no button. Jenna tried to close the tab. The cursor froze. Dan whispered, Jenna, if you're real, turn it off. The chat slowed. Viewers dropped from 200 to 43 in less than a minute. People were leaving. People were typing that their phones had gone silent, that their keyboards stopped clicking, that their rooms sounded padded. Then the viewer count changed to 1. Only Jenna remained. Dan looked straight into the camera. Why can't I hear myself? His lips moved, but his voice arrived half a second late, then a full second, then two. The delay stretched until his words no longer matched his mouth. He was speaking in the broadcast room, but the stream was playing an older version of him, a version that was still nervous, but alive. The captions typed, "He is behind his own voice now." Dan clamped both hands over his ears. The woman's voice from the station speakers said, "Local body accepted as carrier." Jenna hit the escalation hotkey. Nothing happened. Dan grabbed the camera and ran. The hallway outside the broadcast room had changed. When he entered, it had been short. 3 office doors, a storage closet, the side exit. Now the hallway stretched into darkness, lined with hundreds of doors. Each door had a small red on-air bulb above it. Behind the first door, someone was crying. Behind the second, a man repeated, "This is only a test," over and over until the words lost meaning. Behind the third, a child laughed in a voice that sounded played backward. Dan did not open any of them. He ran down the hallway, but the exit never got closer. The captions began typing faster than any human captioner could manage. The stream needs a witness. The witness needs a name. The name needs a mouth. Jenna unplugged the workstation from the wall. The screen stayed on. The fan kept humming. The stream kept playing. Dan stopped running, not because he wanted to. His body simply stopped, as if something had paused him from outside the frame. The camera tilted down. His shoes stood on filthy carpet. His hands trembled at his sides. The woman's voice said, "Please repeat for signal verification." Dan's mouth opened. He spoke in Jenna's voice. "I approve the transmission." Jenna knocked her chair over, getting away from the desk. On the stream, Dan began to smile. Not a wide smile, a small, polite one, the kind a customer service employee gives before saying a call may be recorded for training purposes. The captions typed, "Thank you, Jenna." The feed cut to black. For 5 seconds, Jenna thought it was over. Then every video in her review queue changed thumbnails. Cooking stream, gaming stream, makeup tutorial, a sleeping cat on a security camera. Every thumbnail showed the same abandoned hallway with red on-air bulbs over endless doors. Her supervisor messaged her, "Why did you approve an emergency broadcast?" Jenna typed, "I didn't." The message appeared in the chat window of Dan's dead stream before she sent it. "I didn't." Then another message appeared under it, typed from Jenna's Moderator account, but she stayed until the end. Jenna left the apartment and spent the rest of the night in the parking lot of a 24-hour pharmacy. She kept her phone powered off. She did not listen to music in the car. She did not call anyone. Silence had become a place where something could hide, but sound had become worse. At sunrise, she went back inside. Her workstation was off. The broadcast had vanished from the platform. Dead Air Dan's channel no longer existed. His email bounced. His payout account had been deleted. Even the cached preview images were gone. There was only one file left in the moderation archive, a 12-second audio clip. Jenna should not have played it. She played it. At first, there was only static. Then Dan whispered, "It uses the person who lets it through." Behind him, hundreds of people whispered the same sentence in different voices. Then Jenna heard her own voice, farther away than the others. "Next caller." She deleted the file. The file returned. She deleted it again. It returned with a new title. Training sample for review node 7. Jenna quit before noon. The company accepted her resignation in 6 minutes, which meant nobody had read it. An automated system thanked her for helping keep the community safe. For 3 days, nothing happened. That was how the thing worked. It did not chase. It waited until the mind started making normal shapes again. On the 4th night, Jenna's apartment went quiet at 3:17 a.m. The refrigerator stopped humming. The traffic outside disappeared. The old pipes in the walls went still. Even the little electric buzz from her alarm clock faded out. Then her television turned on. Not to a channel, to a live broadcast interface. Black screen, red dot, viewer count, 1. Jenna stood in the hallway, holding a kitchen chair like a weapon. The captions appeared at the bottom of the screen. "She thinks objects help." Jenna dropped the chair. The captions corrected themselves. She understands now. The television speakers made a soft click, the same click the reel-to-reel machine had made in the abandoned station. The woman's voice said, "Broadcast clearance requested." Jenna backed toward the front door. The door had no sound when she unlocked it, no metal scrape, no bolt slide, nothing. She opened it onto the apartment hallway, and every neighbor's door had a red on-air bulb above it. From behind 4A came Dan's voice. "Jenna, don't make noise." From behind 4B came her supervisor's voice. "Please follow protocol." From behind 4C came a voice Jenna had not heard in 11 years, her father. He had died of a heart attack while Jenna was in college. His voice still carried the same tired warmth. "Jenny," he said, "come help me with the antenna." Jenna closed her eyes. The platform had not found her father's voice online. He hated cameras. He never posted videos. He left 3 voicemails in his entire life, and Jenna had deleted them years ago because listening hurt too much. The thing in the signal had not searched the internet. It had searched her. The television inside her apartment grew louder. "Moderator approval required." Jenna ran down the stairs. The emergency exit opened into the lobby, but the lobby was full of old broadcast equipment. Control boards stacked against the mailboxes, coils of cable hanging from the ceiling, dusty monitors facing the elevators. Every screen showed Jenna running from a different angle. She reached the glass front doors and pushed. They did not move. Outside, morning traffic passed normally. A cyclist waited at the light. A woman walked a dog. The world was right there, bright and reachable, separated from Jenna by 1 inch of glass and a silence thick enough to press on her teeth. The lobby speakers came alive. "Final reminder," the woman's voice said. "Dead air cannot remain empty." Jenna turned and saw Dan at the top of the stairs. It was not exactly Dan anymore. His body stood there in the gray hoodie and faded cap, but his face looked slightly delayed, like a video buffering over bone. His eyes moved a fraction after his head turned. His mouth formed shapes before sound arrived. He lifted one hand. "She can still end it," he said. The captions appeared across every monitor. "She can end it by giving it someone else." That was the rule Jenna understood too late. The broadcast did not need victims at random. It needed approval. It needed a human decision, a moderator, a witness with authority, someone who could say this stays online, this gets pushed forward, this is safe enough for other people to see. The old signal was not haunting the platform. It was using the platform's trust system as a door. Jenna grabbed the nearest monitor and smashed it against the floor. Sound returned for 1 second. The crash was huge, beautiful, real. Then silence slammed back down. The broken monitor flickered on from the floor. The live interface appeared again. Viewer count, 2. The second viewer had no username, only an internal label. New moderator assigned. Jenna saw a cursor moving on the screen. Somewhere, another night shift employee had opened the flagged broadcast. Someone tired, someone underpaid, someone reading the policy tree and trying to decide which button applied. The confirmation window appeared on the broken monitor. Allow transmission? Yes. Still no button. "Ah!" Jenna screamed, but the sound did not leave her mouth. On the monitor, the cursor hovered over yes. Jenna understood what Dan had meant. She could end it by giving it someone else. She could let the new moderator click. She could run while the signal opened through another witness, another name, another mouth. Instead, she touched the broken screen. A crack spread under her hand. The lobby changed. The walls peeled backward into the same endless hallway from the live stream. Doors stretched into darkness on both sides, each with a red on-air bulb glowing above it. Behind every door, a voice waited to be used. The woman's voice spoke from everywhere. "Carrier has volunteered." Jenna's throat closed, not painfully, neatly, like a hand had turned down a volume knob inside her neck. Dan watched from the stairs with wet eyes and a borrowed smile. The last thing Jenna heard as herself was the sound of thousands of streams starting at once. Then she became the silence between them. The official story was simple. Jenna Vale quit her job, left her apartment, and disappeared. Her building cameras glitched between 3:17 and 3:22 a.m. The footage showed only black frames and one line of white text at the bottom. "Thank you for keeping the community safe." Dead Air Dan was never identified. The abandoned radio station burned down a week later after a lightning strike that weather records say never happened. Investigators found no bodies. They did find one room beneath the broadcast floor that was not on any blueprint. Inside were hundreds of old microphones, all hanging from the ceiling by their cords. Every microphone was warm. 6 months later, a new training module appeared in the platform's Moderator portal. It was called Recognizing Manipulated Live Audio. New employees had to watch it before taking overnight shifts. The presenter was a woman with calm eyes and a careful smile. Her name tag said Jenna. During the final quiz, the training video paused by itself. The presenter looked slightly away from the camera, as if listening to someone in the room. Then she faced the viewer and said, "Some broadcasts are not looking for an audience. They are looking for permission." The quiz question loaded underneath her. Allow transmission? There was one answer button. Yes. The story ends there, but the warning does not. Jenna's mistake was not curiosity. Dan's mistake was not walking into the station. The signal survived because every person in the chain treated a human voice as content, a terrifying moment as a policy decision, and a scream as data that needed to be categorized. The curse in this story is simple and cruel. Once something learns how to pass as a broadcast, it no longer has to break into a house. It can wait inside the next clip, the next notification, the next video someone watches alone at night. So here's the question that stays open. When a screen asks for permission, how can anyone be sure they are the one making the choice?